Again and again we have stated that earth is heaven. In earth as it is in heaven. Earth is heaven. You recall, you've read that in the Word, that it's true. Well, then heaven is earth. We don't have to die and go to heaven. We're already in heaven. We already are heaven. You see? Earth is heaven. Heaven is earth. When rightly seen, heaven is earth. Incidentally here, Peter V. Ross once said, when rightly seen, earth is heaven. He was seeing a long way, wasn't he? He was seeing a long way. Again and again we have stated that earth is heaven. We have also stated that right here, just imagine, right here in this room, right here in Los Angeles, right here in the United States, right here on this whole earth planet, it's all heaven, regardless of what seems to be the hells of war and that kind of thing. Still, it is heaven, regardless. This is fact. We've also stated that right here is heaven, and that heaven is right here. If heaven is not right here, where is it? If heaven is not right here, where is it? Where else is there as far as we're concerned but right here? And I'm not limiting us. I don't mean that. But I mean at the moment we're focalized here. Where are we going to be focalized to get out of heaven anyway? When heaven is the everywhere. Now, if heaven is not right here, where is it? Is it possible that we still believe heaven to be located in the sky somewhere and inhabited only by angels? Well, we're in heaven and it is inhabited by angels, and we are the angels. You know how I mean that too. I know you do. We are. There is a heaven, and it is inhabited, and this inhabited heaven is right here. This inhabited heaven truly is right here. And whether or not we may seem to be aware of it, we are the inhabitants of this heaven. We are the inhabitants of this heaven. We are this heaven itself. Again and again, illumination has revealed this absolute truth to be a certain fact. Now it would be a different thing if illumination revealed this heaven as a one way to one, and it's an entirely different or opposite way to another, that kind of thing, you know. Why, one might think, well, it could be right and it could be wrong. But let me tell you, it can't be wrong. It is not wrong. It is absolute fact. Because everyone who experiences seeing and being this heaven experiences seeing and being it in identically the same way. They see and experience the same things. Absolute truth. This is absolute truth. It's a genuine experience. It's a true experience. An experience of genuine living as it is, life as it is. Joy, peace, and above all, love so powerful that it would never occur to anyone to be anything but love. Anything. We are the inhabitants of this heaven right here. Now, I do not mean that heaven is confined to our planet Earth. You know better than that. You know I don't mean that, of course. Heaven is not a separate area. There's no such thing as a separate heaven. It's not a separate area someplace, about the size of the state of Texas or something like that. Oh, well. But I believe there is a sect of some kind that believes that the world's going to come to an end or something. And when that happens, just those who belong to that group are going to be saved, and they're going to retire to a place, I think it is Texas anyway, place about the size of Texas. I don't know where the rest of us are going. But that's what suddenly occurred to me. You know, these crazy things pop up at the awfulest moments. But at the same time, still, you know what it really is? It's the sheer joy of it. It really is. It's the sheer joy of it that makes it like that. Now, I do not mean that heaven is confined to our planet Earth. Heaven is not a separate area anywhere. Heaven is everywhere, and equally everywhere. Heaven is infinitude itself. Heaven is where God is, because heaven is God. God is heaven. So, beloved one, where could we go to get out of heaven? Where could we go to get out of heaven? There isn't any out. There just isn't. No wonder David the psalmist joyously sang, "If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there." I'm not in hell, I'm in heaven. You see, that's the only way we can even seem to be in hell, is if we imagine, don't realize where and what we are. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Right there is heaven. Heaven. So although we may seem to have tried to make our heaven into a bed of hell, and some of us seem to have done that without meaning to, of course. No one intends to. Seems that we make mistakes, seems that we, well, it doesn't matter, no use to go into that, because it's nothing anyway, but maybe through false personal sense of some kind, we punish ourselves needlessly, you know, and needlessly always, but it makes no difference. Although we may seem to have tried to make our heaven into a bed of hell, it matters not. Matters not. Because God, heaven, is all. Hell has no existence. There is no hell. How could there be? How could there be? And right where our hell may seem to be, there is heaven. That statement of David's was of tremendous help to me once, when I seemed to be appeared to be going through great mental agony. And it did seem like hell. And I don't know, I've always loved that 139th Psalm. And two statements came. And that was the first one. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art right here. Thou art right here. So this cannot be hell. And another statement, I don't know where I'd ever read it. It wasn't mine. The statement was, she picked up the debris of her life and built cathedrals. And it was not hell, it was heaven. It is heaven. And right where our hell seems to be, there is heaven, God. Yes, heaven is the everywhere. And no matter what we call this planet Earth, it has to be heaven, or it does not exist. In earth as it is in heaven. In earth as it is in heaven. Indeed so. How could it be otherwise? Is not earth but another name for heaven? That's all earth is. Just another name for heaven. Let us open our eyes. Let us open our consciousness and really see. Oh, I see this heaven this moment. I see it. And I see you inhabitants of it too. This moment. Right now I see you as you are. Indeed so. Let us open our eyes, our consciousness, and really see the heaven that is here, right now, constantly, eternally. The I am that you are is in the kingdom, the consciousness of heaven. And the I am that you are is the kingdom, the consciousness of being heaven. You are the consciousness of being heaven. And the I am that you are, and everyone is the king of the kingdom. Every inhabitant is the king of the kingdom. That's the beauty of it. No greater, no more. No greater, no lesser. Beloved, all of this, and oh, so much more, is revealed in just this one absolute statement of being in the Bible, in the Lord's Prayer. Contemplate this statement as full, open consciousness, and you will marvel at the fullness of the glory that will be revealed and manifested too. Now let us consider the second statement of absolute truth, which concludes the Lord's Prayer. For thine is the kingdom. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Yes, God is the kingdom consciousness. God is the only consciousness of being. The only consciousness of being. The only consciousness of being is the awareness of being all. The only consciousness of being is the awareness of being all. Completeness. Completeness. This means one, indivisible. This means the absolute, completely free from all supposed two-ness, completely free from duality, completely free from all supposed otherness. Thy kingdom is come. This means complete freedom from all spurious duality. This means conscious, absolute perfection, completely pure, free from any imperfection of any kind. This is the power. This is the power. This absolute truth. Omnipotence itself is the all power, is the only power. Why, it's the power of love. It's the power that is love. Because it is the only presence. The only presence has to be the only power. Only that which is present can be power. This is all that is present. All. This is God. This is omnipresence. This is omnipresence being the all. For thine is the kingdom. Thine is the kingdom. Thine is the kingdom. The power and the glory. Thine is the kingdom. Consciousness, that is God, is the only consciousness of being, and this one and only consciousness of being is the being. This one and only consciousness of being is the being. And this is the power. And beloved one, this is the I am. This is the God consciousness that you are. This is your very awareness of being. Why, this is your consciousness that you exist. Your awareness of being. This is your very consciousness that you are an identity even. And this is the power of the absolute truth that you are. And always with this word power, it's love. Always with the word power, it's love. Otherwise one could easily drop into the wrong concept of power. It would be power over something. Isn't that? Just the power of being what you are. And it's love. Always. It is not a little supposed separate power that one has or can use at all. It is the power, the God power. The power that is life, the power that is love, the power that is living consciousness. This is the power. It is the one power that exists equally as every one of us. The one power that exists equally as every one of us. It is the power of indivisible, universal oneness. That's why it's love. Indivisible, universal oneness. And the oneness is love. And of course, this is the glory. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory. The power and now the glory. This is the glory, and oh, it is glory. It is glory, I'll tell you. It is glory. This is the glory. This is the joy. This is the ecstasy. This is the light. It is the God I am that you are, experiencing being the glory that is God. It is the God I am that you are, experiencing being the glory that is God. The glory that is God. It is a full, complete revelation. It is a full, complete revelation. Truly. It is the full, complete manifestation. The full, complete, visible manifestation right here, right now. Truly. It is the full, complete evidence, the only evidence. And it is the evidence of what you are, just of what you are. All that you are. and only that which you are. It is all light. Oh yes, it is all light. All is light. It is all illumination. All illumination. And you are the light. You are the light, the glory, forever and ever. Yes, infinitely, constantly, eternally. It is the light, and it is the light that you are, for you are the light. And this is the meaning of the statement, I am the light. Ye are the light. Remember in the Bible? Remember in the Bible? Ye are the light. Jesus said it. Ye are the light. Forever and ever you walk in the light as the light, for you are the light wherein you walk. And the Amen, oh yes, it is done. Amen, it is done. It is. Amen. Amen means it is finished. Always it will be finished, complete. Always it was finished, complete. Now we know it. Now it is finished. Now it has been completely revealed. Now it is written. Now it is spoken. Now it is heard. Who has spoken? Who has heard? The I am that you are. Now that we know, and we know that we know that we are the everlasting light. And that is Amen. And now, beloved, from that which has just been revealed, we can perceive that heaven, absolute perfection, is a constant, ever-present truth or certain fact. Certain fact. Nothing fluctuating. Nothing uncertain about it. Nothing doubtful about it. Nothing dubious about it. The certain fact. This is it. Absolute perfection is omnipresence, all that is ever present. Absolute perfection is an eternal, universal, omnipresent constant. This is fact or truth. Thus, earth itself, has to be fact. Heaven and earth are not two. Now we know. They are one and the same. That which is called earth is only another way of seeing and another way of saying heaven or absolute perfection, joy, ecstasy. No one can make absolute perfection be or become perfect. No one can make absolute, complete perfection be or become any more perfect than it already is. The absolute perfection that is does not become a fact when someone perceives it. Now we have perceived it. We do perceive it. We know it, and we know that we are it, and that we're never going to become that which we are and have always been. Now, let's see what is our next part is. But as you study, as you read and contemplate, not read but contemplate those two statements of the Lord's Prayer, you'll find again and again and again that the revelations just literally pouring, because they are so fraught with absolute truth. There are innumerable truths revealed in just those two statements. But aren't they wonderful? Wonderful statements. And there it's been all the while in the Lord's Prayer. And I can't imagine why I never saw it before. Can you? We've had many interpretations of it. But that's not an interpretation. Not at all. It couldn't possibly be, because I wasn't trying to interpret it. Just as those two statements came, heavens, I've said them since I was about so high, you know. So they came, and as they came, the words came, so they were written, and that's it. Well, you wouldn't call that interpreting, what would you call that? What is it? Revelation. Well, yes, it is revelation. That's right. That's it. Now let's see how long it would take to go through this next. You realize that that now, which is often misinterpreted, and it is too, to be material substance, really is the substance that is light, really is the substance that is consciousness, really is the substance that is complete, absolute perfection, and this, of course, is heaven. And incidentally, while we're on the subject, when I travel, or I haven't traveled for the last year, but when I'm out giving, doing anything like this, I always carry my Gospel according to Thomas with me. And I was going into it today, and I will tell you that it's the most beautiful thing, the way the opening few pages of that Gospel according to Thomas bears out exactly. Now, I have given classes. I know why. And so, I am so delighted because the very first, the first 2 or 3 pages even, bears out this thing. For instance, that we've been discussing about heaven. He said, heaven is within you, heaven is without you, you know. And I marked a few passages. I thought if we have an opportunity at the end of the class, or toward the end of the class, and I see that class, my foot. Well, but if we can, I'd like to go into them a little bit with you. Yes, I really would, because I feel, you see, the beauty of this Gospel according to Thomas is that it is absolutely authentic. As you know, the Bible, well, I love the Bible, believe me. I wouldn't be without it for anything. But in many cases, and I would say particularly in the New Testament, the church insisted upon changes there, many omissions, many changes, in order to carry out what they considered their purpose, you know. And so even Jesus is occasionally in the Bible misquoted. I know that. I know that absolutely from first-hand information. So, no, truly. I laugh about it, but I'll tell you when I got corrected on this. When I made the statement, I don't know how many times I'd made this statement, I in thee and thou in me, that we may be made perfect in one. And if you think I didn't get told, I did. I did. The statement was, that is not right. That is not the way I made that statement. Just like that. and we are one perfect one. Now that's straight from headquarters. But now I'm as a rule, I don't mention things like that. I have in a few cases, but in a group, as a rule, I don't. But do you know, I don't care now. Now, I really don't. Let the world, I don't care, let it believe or disbelieve, let it ridicule, that's none of my business at all. That has nothing to do with the fulfillment of this purpose. We're going on ahead and fulfill it. And whatever must be said in order to be the fulfillment of this purpose, all right, we'll say it. So, now, to get back to this Gospel According to Thomas, how I love that book. I'd love to tell you how I happened to discover that book. I told some of you. How many here have I told? Put your hands up, would you mind? Well, that isn't enough. You want to know how I happened to find that book? All right. At the close of when he said, that is not what I said. He then said, I will show you what I said. And then that was all. All right. I think it was 2 days later, I was going to the desk, walked right to the desk, and asked for the book that I felt that he would enjoy. Well, as I walked in, I noticed over to the left, over to my left, a circle of light above a table. It was a golden light. And in that golden light there was a book. And the book was the Gospel According to Thomas. Now, I don't mean the so-called physical book was there, but I saw that book in that golden light, you know. Well, naturally, you know, I made a beeline for that table. And so when I got to that table, here was a stack of the Gospel According to Thomas. And I tell you, I grabbed up 3 of them. I rushed back to the desk. I forgot about Kenneth. I forgot about his... I said, here, I want these. I knew, right then and there, you know. And I hugged those books to me all the way home in the car, and when I got home, I tore into my study, and I sat down and I started to read, and there it was. It's absolute verification, as Mattie says, absolute verification of what I had been seeing and saying, mainly in private. Now it's out in the public, and I'm not a bit ashamed of it either. So, there it is. But that's how I came to find the Gospel According to Thomas. And I'm grateful. Believe me. Is it any wonder that I carry it with me wherever I go? Yes. Well, now, all right. This Gospel According to Thomas, the church never got its hands on this, you see. This was like the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was discovered in the same way that the Dead Sea Scrolls was discovered. And it is absolutely authentic, really. But, you know, no matter, I could read that, I don't know, I could read it a dozen times, and each time, of course, some other little fact that I'm seeing would crop through, you know. But this is different, don't you see? Because this is a thing of, because of this revelation, which really means what we've been seeing here in the kingdom of heaven, that we are the kingdom, we are the king, and not only that, but many, many other things that we've been seeing, and particularly this thing of eternal life, of birthless life. Now, as we said, I really did interrupt myself that time, didn't I? But as we said, that which is misinterpreted to be material substance really is the substance that is light, consciousness, complete absolute perfection. And this, of course, is heaven. Absolute perfection, heaven, is now, as we know, it is all that is ever present, and this is true even though it may not seem to be apparent. Making a difference whether it seems to be or not. It's the truth anyway. It may seem that there's no sun up there because the clouds may simply be covering it all over, but the sun is there, just the same. So, heaven is here regardless. Yes, even before we even see or perceive absolute perfection to be. It was, it is, and it will forever be all there is. Now is an eternal absolute truth or fact. Right now. Now is a principle, you know. Now is an absolute truth. Now is present everywhere. Now is a universal constant. Now is eternality. Now is infinity. So, all is now. Right now. So, heaven is here now. Now is an eternal absolute truth or fact. Here is an infinite, omnipresent truth or certain fact. Absolute perfection is the ever-present, eternal now. Now again, absolute perfection is the ever-present, eternal now. Absolute perfection is the infinite, omnipresent here. The now, the here. Absolute perfection. Now we know what absolute perfection is. No appearance, making a difference about the appearance at all. No appearance can change or lessen the eternal constant, absolute perfection that is. Not at all. Eternal omnipresence cannot disappear. Eternal omnipresence cannot disappear. Never can it lessen. Eternal omnipresence can never appear, never can it come into being. Anything that is an ever-present, eternal presence can never become that presence. Anything that is an eternal presence can never become that presence. So, neither can it be brought into existence or being. There can be no actual, incomplete consciousness of absolute perfection. Why? Because completeness is an absolute truth. Completeness is a universal truth. We are completeness itself. So, there can be no actual, incomplete consciousness of absolute perfection. This is true because consciousness is the very substance, form, and activity that is complete, absolute perfection. In order to be the constant evidence of absolute perfection, we must perceive the constant, absolute perfection that is, and we must act. We must act from that standpoint. We must act upon that premise and only upon that premise. Not only to see it, but go ahead and act on it. I remember one time I felt I couldn't walk, you know, and I got up from the chair, and I thought, well, I only have to take one step, so I just put one foot forward, and I balanced myself, and I said, all I have to do is take another step, and I brought the other one up to it, like that. I was acting on the premise of absolute perfection. The time I got across the room, I was walking. That's what I mean, you see. We act on it. We just refuse to be put down by these things. Because they're not God, and God really is the only power, the only presence. And absolute perfection, then, is the only power, the only presence. Now, in order to be the constant evidence of absolute perfection, we must perceive this perfection, and we must act from and upon that premise, and only upon that premise. We are conscious of being constant, eternal, absolute perfection, and we act accordingly. Now we don't say, oh, that's human will. There's no such thing as human will to begin with. And in the second place, it's not human will for anyone to be able to act normally. Not at all. So, now, we've got that off our chest. We'll go on to the manifestation. Manifestation. Now, since absolute complete perfection is the only presence, can there possibly be a manifestation of an opposite to this absolute perfection? We know there can't. There cannot be an opposite to the only thing present there is, to the only presence. Can there possibly be a manifestation of anything other than this ever-present absolute perfection? No. Anything that does not exist just simply cannot be evidenced. It can't be manifested. Only that absolute perfection that exists here, now, can be evidenced here, now, anywhere, everywhere. Not even for a split second can there be any evidence of anything that does not exist. Now we see that. We're very sure of that. So that's all we accept. We do not act on an assumption that absolute perfection is the only presence. I don't mean we do not act on an assumption that absolute perfection is the only presence. It's more than an assumption. Absolute, solid conviction. That's what it is. This is what we act upon. We act on and in the full, complete awareness of the presence that is absolute perfection. But, of course, we also act in and as the firm conviction that this is the point, we are this very presence itself. That's the main thing, that we are this very presence itself that is absolute perfection. We are aware of being it. We are conscious of being it. Let's say, let's never say, well, I may be it, but I'm not conscious of it. Well, fiddlesticks, it's impossible to be something and not be aware of it. Of course you're fully conscious, you're not just partly conscious. You're completely conscious, aren't you? Then you've got to be completely conscious of everything that you are, of all that you are. Isn't it true? So of course you're aware of it. You're aware of all that you are. You would not be completely conscious, and you couldn't be incompletely conscious. So you would not be completely conscious if you were not aware of what you are, of all that you are, not just a tiny little bit. This is not all. We act in and as the solid, unshakable conviction that everyone and everything consists of absolute perfection. This is the way it is, really. We act in and as the complete awareness that we are absolute perfection evidenced. Now, do we take that extra step? We are absolute perfection evidenced, and that this evidence is our only substance, our only form, and our only activity. Never do we act as though we are going to be absolute perfection. We never say, well, I'll wait till maybe tomorrow I'll feel stronger, then I can walk. You see what I mean? You say, I'll wait, maybe tomorrow I won't have a headache. See? Now, we don't postpone anything. We can't. Because it's all here. It's all now. And we are it. We are it. This is the thing. Never do we act as though we are going to be or to become absolute perfection. Nor do we act as though we were going to become this perfection tomorrow evident, for instance. Just as surely as we are this absolute perfection, we are this absolute perfection evident. We've got to be. Otherwise we would not be complete. Otherwise we would not be completeness. And thank God we are completeness. This is truth. Rather we act in and as the solid conviction that already we are absolute perfection. This moment and every moment. This moment and every moment. And that we are this perfection evidenced as substance, as form, and activity. Now we have the courage for that, haven't we? We have the courage for that. I know we have. Every one of us has. It's the courage of conviction. It's more than hope. It's even more than faith. It's conviction. It's absolute awareness. It is no good saying, oh, I can't do that. Haven't we all said it? Haven't I? Oh, I can't do that. One of the greatest lights I have ever known. I won't name her. But in talking with her one day over the phone, I said, the long distance, I said, why don't you start out again and give some talks and that sort of thing? Oh, I can't do that. I'm too old now. Poppycock. You know. Who's too old for anything? Who's too young for anything? What's the difference between youth and age? Is there any? Is there either one? Is there either youth or age? You bet we can do that. It doesn't make any difference what it is, if it's right and good and loving and a fulfillment of purpose. We can do that, whatever it is. And we can do it now, too. No, it is no good saying, oh, I can't do that. I have to wait, and I can present myself as until I can present myself as the evidence of this truth. Well, you might have to wait a long time then. You know, really. Because the truth of the matter is that you keep on talking like that and you're going to push it all into what we call the future. All the time, right into the future, farther and farther and farther. And you know something? It's like the carrot in front of the horse's nose. You're going to never catch up with it. And it has the solid conviction that already we are absolute perfection. And no, we do not say, I can't do that. I have to wait until I can present myself as the evidence of this truth. Well, so long as we postpone being the evidence, it will continue to be just out of our reach. just out of our reach. To see, to perceive now is to be now. To see, to perceive now is to be now. Whatever we're seeing now, we're being now. And we act on and as this premise only. Now in our Bible we read, and the ears of the deaf shall be opened, and the eyes of the blind shall see. The ears of the deaf, the ears of the supposed deaf, are open. The ears of the supposed deaf are open, and the eyes of the supposed blind do see, regardless. No matter how it appears, they do see. Jesus said, if ye were blind, then ye would see. And again he said, having eyes, ye see not, and ears, ye hear not. Remember that? Why? Why? Because, you see, if so long as it appears to us that we are dependent upon born eyes, we do not really see. So long as it seems that we are dependent upon born ears, we do not really hear. You see? This is truth. We are not dependent upon born eyes or born ears. These are not receptacles for vision. Whatever is here is vision. These are not receptacles for hearing. Whatever is here is hearing. Vision and hearing are everywhere. Everywhere present. Jesus could also have said, if he were deaf, then ye would hear. Means the same thing. You see. This is true because it is the supposed eyes of a assumptive born man and the ears of this same pseudo-man that seem to see and to hear imperfection. We never, we never seem to see perfection, and we never seem to hear perfection so humanly. This is true. I know this because in music, hearing the music of the spheres, the nearest perfect music that I ever that in this world, to me at least, is Bach. The most spiritual and the nearest perfect. Until I heard the music of the spheres, I thought it was absolute perfection. And then, boy, I'd rather hear it than anything in the world, in this a world of appearance, Right today, however, in reality, when you hear the music of the spheres, you realize that even the finest of music that you hear with so-called human ears, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. And I think probably that too is why I don't suppose a so-called composer of music or an artist, a painter either, has ever been completely satisfied with his or her so-called painting or composing either, you see. Because always there is the knowledge, there's the inherent knowledge of the perfection itself, that the perfection is a thing, and somehow they never, or we never, I know now, of course, that you never compose anything or paint anything of yourself, but The highest we can do even in what seems to be this human experience is below, it seems, perfection, you know. But when you hear the music of the spheres, it's so utterly complete. It's so utterly complete, and so beyond anything that could be produced, you know, by any other means.
You have reached the end of tape number 8. Please continue to tape number 9 for the continuance of this series. Thank you.